Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Impossible with your co-host, Austin. I'm still out here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Beautiful, gorgeous, sunny day that we have out here, and it's a beautiful time to take a moment to reflect. So I wanted to just give an update on a few things going on in my life. So a bit of a reflection therapy session, but ultimately a good time to share with you all. So without further, let's get started. So first off, with the journey of testing in this time of remission, we are about 2.5 weeks out from my next PET scan. So the previous one, I had updated everyone with the SUV, the sugar uptake value, for one particular node, right supraclavicular, which has basically been ground zero since the start, had appeared 0.4 centimeters in diameter, and had, I'm sorry. Apologies. The SUV was 5. The value was 5. My liver uptake value, which is, again, what they use as a guide for the rest of your body, in terms of if you have an anomaly, you say, okay, your liver's here. This is the anomaly part is here. So my liver was 3.8, which has been very common. 3.4 to 3.8 has been that value. And it was 5 for the lymph node here. And then the size, the diameter of the one lymph node, or the lymph node in suspect here, is 0.4 centimeters, or it was back at the end of June. So having another PET scan coming up here on the last week of August there will be huge, will be critical to see in the progression of this year, because I mean this will be my 4th PET scan, and it should give us the best look, honestly, into where we move on from here. So the PET scan in May, again, had a lot of blockage in terms of brown fat presence in the neck and clavicular area, which is the way we're trying to look. But then in May, June, April, June, and hopefully this time coming up here, the right axillary, right armpit, has been clear. And I'm hoping that stays the case. But for the clavicle area, supraclavicular, we are obviously hoping for the best, that this is just something that my immune system is reacting to heavy, and of course with this being the most populous, most popular spot for the cancer to form, to coagulate, to throw a big huge party in. There's reason to believe that there's going to be a lot of scar tissue and a lot of just inflammation in general. That's going to be that will make this area more susceptible to inflammation in general, just with your immune system, because our immune systems are fighting off viruses, bacteria, yada yada yada, but fighting in general every waking moment of our lives. And so it wouldn't be too far of a stretch to say that there are things that I am experiencing in my daily life, especially with traveling for work. That's something that I've known for well before the diagnosis, is that with one downfall of traveling all this much and so many different places and different regions, from desert with beautiful mountains to the Great Plains to the Midwest, cornfields, wheat fields, lots of grasses, a lot of different areas. And so it's been well known and well documented that traveling like this has taken its toll to my immune system, which is fine. That's it is a struggle somewhat, but nothing that we can't handle. So looking at this here, just hoping we're hoping that it's inflammation, and that's just the case for the SUV. So in April/May, the SUV was at 3.8 for the node, and then it was up to 5 in June, which, if it were cancer, we would put the assumption, we have to assume, obviously we don't know yet, but we would have to assume that if it were cancer, it would have grown a lot faster, especially and mostly because of the rate of growth that I had previously. So in my original diagnosis, the SUVs were fairly high, anywhere from 5 to 9, I believe the SUVs were, give and take, just in the different areas, because the tumor was in the right mediastinal wall, and then I had right and left supraclavicular nodes. And then in my relapse, it jumped from 12 to 17 between the right supraclavicular and right axillary, right armpit. And so for this time here, if it were cancer, we would have to say that it's acting differently, which it's an uphill grade for the road behind me, for the highway behind me. So, I can't blame them for opening up the throttle a little bit. So all is well. Anyways, so for this to be cancer, it would be acting very differently than from before, from my history in particular, and just in general with what we have an understanding of in terms of cancer. So there is some light still shining in the tunnel. The tunnel still has a bit of length to it, unfortunately, but it's still lit up. Still some hope there, and I don't want to insinuate that hope is what is putting or getting me through this part. It's not. Hope is something that you really shouldn't rely on unless you absolutely have to. And in my case, I don't have to, and I choose not to. Hope can help curb any occasional flare-ups of controversy or discourse going on between the two ears, but I would say the daily struggle, the daily acts, the attempt to the continuous attempt to ever evolve my personal form of discipline, and ultimately the drive that we have here at Impossible Performance, that is what gets me from day to day. Trying to offer something for you is what gets me out of bed. And for me to say that it's hope is what I rely upon for there to be any potential of a smile to shine from my face, that's very far from the truth. And that is a choice of mine, and I stick to it, and I really do enjoy being here every day. there are a lot of things that you see when you're in a larger city than what you don't see when you inhabit the types of environments that I have in the past and where I grew up, where I currently reside. There are a lot of different things that you see, a more diverse presentation, a more diverse portfolio of humans and of human experiences. And especially in my case, where I'm working on metropolitan buses and in the heart of cities for the most part, it really does give you some reality checks as to being reminded that the reality that I sit in is could be much, much worse. And I know there are a lot of individuals that may be in similar structures of class as myself that aren't a cancer patient, but I've learned both through thought and through experience, firsthand experience and secondhand, but ultimately firsthand experience, is that I could have things a lot worse, but also the lives of others, each individual person that you meet, their life is just as complex as yours. And I know that's, me personally, I see this running through, my social media algorithms a lot, because it is, for me personally, it's something that I've had to, that having it run across my screen almost every day, and then almost every day, again, experiencing it firsthand, just going to work, driving to a coffee shop downtown, driving to, there's a wonderful Thai restaurant, nice little, quick order kind of place on the north end of Pioneer Park in downtown Salt Lake City. And Pioneer Park is just, it happens to inhabit and is frequented by the homeless, and homelessness here has its own unique perspective, as does every single city out there. But with Salt Lake, it's certainly different, and so, for me for me experiencing that every day, it certainly is a stark contrast to the moments that I have where I may be ready to complain about something, or I am currently complaining about something, actively complaining, or just frustrated with something at work, frustrated with something happening within myself. And that is, that's reality for some people, and it puts me in my place, and I appreciate that very much. So, anyways, bit of a tangent, but yes. So life could be worse. It could be cancer. That's still floating through my lymphatic system as we speak, or it could just be something else going on. And so the hope is that the last week of August, almost 2.5 weeks from now, I do hope that it is not. But as I've said before on previous shows, is that I'm ready for whatever I am told. I I have prepared both mentally and physically, but at the same time, those are ever evolving day by day as well, because you're never going to be fully prepared mentally or physically for being told that you've relapsed for a second time, and then you have to go and possibly are going to have a stem cell transplant, and so you're not going to be 100% ready, but you have every right. You have every right, but ultimately you have the ability to give yourself that chance every moment of every day to do your best, to do your damnedest, to not reach the ultimate, but continue to climb that mountain. So yeah, that's where we're at with my current questionable, curious journey of remission at this moment. 2024 is yet another weird year for me. It's now 3 years in a row or third year now in a row that things have been orderly and positive, yet disjointed and absolutely chaotic. Strange times, but the best of times. And so secondly, preparing for a marathon. So I've lost 14 pounds, which is below my desired weight, but that number is low, mostly because of the powerlifting meet that I'm also training for. Powerlifting meet August 24th at Monsters Bent Barbell in Parkersburg, West Virginia. They're on 7th Street. You should come out if you can. And so that has added on some muscle, for sure. A noticeable difference. And so I'm really excited about that. But I've been able to lean down some, and that's ultimately what I was going for the marathon. Because as soon as this powerlifting meet is over, it's certainly going to turn to return to 100% focus on the marathon, which the time here for this powerlifting meet, has there been or will there be any regret in terms of the loss of focus for the marathon towards the powerlifting meet? No, I have no regret. This powerlifting meet is going to be a really good time. I haven't worked in in terms of resistance training. I haven't dealt with explosiveness and working the fast twitch fibers to this level since off and on for the past 2 years. Well, past year and a half. 2 years ago, I was in the middle of treatment, and I promise you, nothing explosive was happening at that point. It was mostly surviving. Oh my! Apologies. Oh my! Fear and loathing. No, I had prepared for the Holiday Havoc 2022 at the end of treatment there for the first round of treatment, and so that was honestly the last time that I'd actually gone on a program to prepare for a meet. So this has been a long time coming, and I'm really excited to do it. I'm going to push myself, of course. I want to see how far I can go, but in terms of, am I in the heat of the moment, there will be some stretching into the realm of getting ever closer to 100% CNS, central nervous system, boundary pushing, but pushing, pulling, and squatting. But ultimately, my goal is to go, to 95% max effort. I'll probably stretch to 98. Probably will hit 100 for deadlift, and that's just for personal reasons. But ultimately, I don't want to overdo it with this meet being so close to the marathon, because it meets August 24th, full marathon October 20th, and by September 20th I will be clocking down the mileage heavily to prepare for the full. And so I don't, I need to continue with higher mileage up until that point, September 20th. And so for me to, recovery will still occur the week after the meet, of course. I'm not going to push myself mileage wise for it, but ultimately I need to be able to ramp it right back up for the 2.5 weeks, up until that point. So in terms of the marathon itself, training, everything's going fantastic. So the shin splints that I had occurring back in the past have pretty much gone. We believe that it's moved into more of a kind of a tendon issue where the calf muscles come down on the interior of my shin calf. I'm not a doctor. And so where it goes from muscle to tendon down into the interior side of your ankle into your heel and stuff, that's we assume that it's just a lot of inflammation and irritability and pissed offness going on there, which is fine. It's been manageable, and I'm not going to let something like that, other than something of severe damage, I'm not going to let something like that stop me from running the full. So we have forged on for these past couple of months, and we will continue to. I've had a lot of fantastic training occur here in Utah. So right now, the elevation of my hotel is, as you can see, being this close to the mountains, we're definitely much higher than the gully of the valley, and which down there it's about, I think it's 16 to 1700 feet. But then where I'm at here, we're at oh my, I just had the number. It's just under 2,400 feet. So, fantastic stuff, and it's been great. So especially with going through particularly bleomycin, but 7.5, 8.5 to 6, 7.5 months of chemo in the past 2 years, asthma. It's certainly shown to be causing this journey to be a bit more difficult, but ultimately getting this higher altitude training has been phenomenal. The first week and a half that I had started training up here, and not in one spurt, but a week and a half worth of training that I had gotten done here with my time out here working, it was rough. It was it was incredibly rough. I was just on a treadmill inside the hotel gym, so it wasn't anything crazy temperature wise. It was obviously 68, 70, cold. Cold compared to outside, because the summer here in Utah, for those of you who do know or are here, it's been in the 90s and 100s a lot. So, and I've been here just so happened during those heat waves. So how lucky am I? But I get to experience it with everybody else here. Suffer, but ultimately experience it with others. So, but running has gone very, very well since that initial week and a half to 2 weeks of training. So, I'm getting miles up. I'm feeling a lot better. It's still rough, especially on the hotter days. As being a fair-skinned individual, I burn very easily. The arms not so much, but the rest of my body does not like sun, and so it's been very difficult to stay protected against the UV rays. But ultimately, it's been worth it. It's been worth it to push myself and to really suffer. That's what it's been. And I've, as we discussed previously, in the moment, the winds may not seem so favorable. But once you're done, the relief, the release, and the result are ever so consuming of one's ability to feel some joy and feel some happiness. I found myself longing for those moments after a good run, or even a good session. Like, side note, this morning I had a fantastic upper chest and shoulder session, and I pushed myself and got frustrated with myself in a moment. And a certain weight that I looked to do a 3 reps with, I got stuck halfway up on the first rep. So I sat there, shook my head, and cursed, and then quietly, and then, but with ferocity, and then immediately I gave myself the break of taking the plates off, and I immediately sat back down and pushed out a set of 10 reps at 135. I needed to. I felt that in that moment, the correction of having a piss poor attitude of what had just happened, I needed to check myself, and checking myself was immediately getting back under the bar, lighter weight, but putting out those 10 reps was rough, but it was needed, and I felt fantastic after it. I was the remnants of ferocity we're still kind of trickling around, and so sat there, took a drink, and just let it go, and finished out the sets of 135, did a few more for 10, and then went and did the rest of my workout. And afterwards, on the drive home, I felt, I knew I was heavily sore, but it was that feeling of the weight was lifted off your shoulders. I felt phenomenal after that. So it was, and that's the feeling that I'm talking about after a nice run, after a good session, after maybe a really good meditation session. That's that kind of where you can just breathe, but it's just a lot has just been lifted off of you. That feeling has been something that I've longed for now that I've had a taste for it, and it is quite delicious, if that's the way you can put it. Delicious like the sparkling water. The sparkling water that I'm drinking here, by the way, has lots of calcium and magnesium in. 80 milligrams of calcium, 80 milligrams of magnesium, 260 milligrams of calcium per bottle. That's just insane. Absolutely insane. Love it, though. Anyways. So yeah, that's how marathon and resistance training has been going. So it's been a phenomenal time, phenomenal stretch. And lastly, I wanted to discuss a bit of the kind of the mental side. So, as I just prefaced there, the meditative side of, or the mental side of how I handle a lot of the stress and how I deal with a lot of the suffering has been going phenomenally. So I'm able to now engage in 2 very solid 15-minute sessions. So I'll go through one in the morning and then one in the evening. The one in the morning I try to get right as the sun is coming up. I have found that if the sun's not up yet, there's still just a slight disconnect, mostly grogginess, but a slight disconnect if I try to offer up some type of sacrifice to reach that kind of shelf, to reach that kind of level of conversation within myself, that I can't get to that unless the sun is at least peaked up over the mountains, which is about 6:45. So it's nothing terrible. 6:15 to 6:45 is when I'm able to start, and it's a nice solid 15 minutes, and then in the evenings I'll do it right as the sun's about a half hour from sunset. So what that does here, especially up here, because the sun sets that direction, so I don't get to see it, but I get to see the colors that it shines upon here on this eastern face of mountains, which just serene. And so that's my view for that 15-minute session, and it's just the experience itself is impeccable. And sometimes if I can, I'll actually for this hotel they have a quote unquote rooftop patio that we have here on the 4th floor, and it's just nice. It can get a little noisy with the highway behind me, but ultimately, I'll just go out there with my noise canceling headphones and just relax. I try to do that, especially when the colors are just very vibrant. Especially if there's a little bit of clouds up there, because they obviously do the best in reflecting the different pinks and purples and yellows that are shining from there. And so I'll go out there, and it's an absolutely incredible experience. And I still make it. I still set myself to 15 minutes. I don't. I found that's been a sweet spot for now. I know a lot of people love to engage in longer and longer sessions, maybe not reaching hours, but who try to go, because at first when you're meditating, you find yourself a nice little pocket of time, and that can be 2 minutes, that can be 5 minutes, it can be 10 minutes at first. It just depends on how well you're able to focus and how well you are able to listen to that inside voice. But for me, I have found that 15 minutes has just been it's been more than adequate, and ultimately I find a lot can be done in that 15 minutes, and I don't feel that I'm in the position to push that, to work on extending that at the moment. For it's, how can I say that, the value that it provides me at this moment is more than enough for what I expect to come from it, what I hope to come from it, but what I somewhat expected to come from it. And it's providing that, it's filling a lot of gaps within a lot of questionable whirlwinds and really chaotic moments in trying to deal with the heavier subjects that I have to face. And so they do no harm, and I don't feel that I don't need to overextend my reach into that realm, because I'm still very much a novice. I've only taken meditation seriously for about 4.5 to 5 months now, and so I don't need to push the envelope. I need to take it as I can, and again, for what I have found, it has been more than rewarding. So that's where I'm staying at with that. And so yeah, mentally I've been able to clear up a lot of stuff. I know I know that I still have some fairly emotional responses to, a few different topics, but I reserve the right to to still seem human to others as well as to myself. So I am human, and I enjoy the realm of realizing and accepting and thriving from the realm of imperfection. And that that is something that I do take great pride in, is the awareness and acceptance of us being imperfect. And when it's especially when it's shoved in your face that, I had a mutation happen inside of me, which means that my body was not perfect in dealing with all mutations of all types of certain individual proteins or cells within my immune system. So when you have such a stark reminder that you are not perfect, it's better not to question it. It's best to be aware of it, to accept it, and to find a way to thrive from it. And your ability to procure immediate short and long-term goals is ultimately and to have and are continuously developing your discipline and your daily commitment to said goals. That's how you thrive from the realization and acceptance of imperfection. So yeah, that is a reflection upon how things have gone over the past few weeks. And lastly, I'm really excited about this adaptation series that I've been able to put up. Still working on it. Still have a lot more content to deliver, and that just fills my heart with joy to be able to release that and find somebody, or hopefully a lot of people, that I can help, because it's helped me. And I'm not pulling out these formulas out of thin air. It's with a lot of research, a lot of reading, and listening, but also practicing. And so that has been exciting. Absolutely exciting. It is such a thrill to record those and to work on those, and to have somebody like Matt to bounce ideas off with, and to gain a lot of perspective from his side. But also, in the future, we're going to be recording more of those adaptation series or shows, episodes together, and that gives such a different perspective, a diverse perspective, and a really deep perspective from Matt, with everything that he's gone through, which the list is fairly long. But what him and I find is that in order to face the impossible, you have to be impossible to do that impossible. And it fills us with joy that you've taken the time to hear us out, to listen to us, to watch us, and to follow us. We thank all of you for whom is ever for anybody that is following us, subscribe to us, and and just engaging in the potential for a better life for yourself and for those who are around you. And we thank you for all we thank you for that. We thank you for all that you do, and we hope that you continue being impossible, because it's as Matt likes to quote Walt Disney, is that it's so much fun. So thank you again for listening, and you'll be catching a lot more episodes coming up here in the future. So we have a lot of big announcements, a lot of big events as well. Like I said, the August 24th is the powerlifting meet there at Monsters Bent Barbell on 7th in Parkersburg, West Virginia. August 17th, my gosh, is the Parkersburg Half, which I'll be running, and Matt will be running. We're still trying to figure out what race he's going to be running, with some things going on, but he's still going to be there. So we're going to be representing and hope to see any and all of you there. So it's going to be a fantastic time. And then for myself and my time out here in Utah, actually September 7th is the Cedar City Half Marathon. I don't know if there's more words to that title, but Cedar City, Utah, down in southern Utah, just northeast of St. George, and it's a half mile that you basically the first 10 miles is through a canyon on a slight downgrade the entire time. Thank you. And then the last about 3 miles is trails. So it's going to be a really good time. And there's a nice open, it's like a 4-hour time limit on it. So I expect to be closer to half that time rather than the full time, but never know what happens. But ultimately it's going to be a really good time, and I'm excited to see it. I've only been down to southern Utah once, to Zion National Park, Zion, not Zion, Zion. And it's just incredible, immaculate, stupefying. It makes you speechless seeing the mountains down there, because it's completely different from what you see behind me. So beautiful countryside and mountain views and all that good stuff. Desert still, really hot, but really dry, and so a lot of preparation for that. But it's a really busy schedule, and we're gonna keep you up to date with everything, and we're excited to do so, and we're thankful to do so, and thankful for you for following again and being impossible. Because us here at Impossible Performance, we're building a culture of strength, fostering a spirit of growth, in constant pursuit of the impossible. Take care, and as always, be impossible.